Welcome to Kinky Knots Cafe, Proactive is the Way, where we provide you tools and resources to enhance your mind, body, and spirit. Get ready, folks. Let us nurture you from the inside out. Hello, my friends. Last week, I had an opportunity to connect with our guest for this month, Chris Loper, to discuss how he harnesses critical thinking for effective decision making. Let's kick things off with an introduction from Chris as he highlights his personal and professional background.
Hi, thanks for having me. I am a writer, a tutor, and a habit coach from Issaquah, Washington, which is near Seattle. I live here with my lovely wife, Christina, and our adorable cat, Benny.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and so talk to me a little bit about a habit coach. I think I understand a tutor, but maybe if you what do you tutor in, and then talk to me a little bit about habit coach.
I am an all-purpose nerd, so I work with students of all ages. Right now, my youngest is 5, teaching him to read, and then my oldest is in college. I do basically all subjects. In addition, I do executive function coaching with students and study skills. Um, and that's been an awesome self-employed career for me. And in addition, I do habit coaching with adults. So if you know what you want to be doing or what you're supposed to be doing for your career, for your health, for your mental health, and you've tried just making yourself do it and that didn't work, the answer is strategy. And that's my role, is to teach you strategies to make it easier.
Okay. And in this particular space, did you come out of school knowing that you wanted to do this, or you just kind of fell into this space?
Oh, not at all. No. I came out of school. I went into school wanting to have as much fun as possible, and I came out of school still wanting to just have fun. So I moved to the mountains and I was a ski bum for 5 years. I was a bartender and a waiter. And I didn't grow up until my body fell apart and forced me to grow up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I didn't really
Okay.
have a plan. And it was like, well, I was good at school and I liked teaching. So tutoring.
Okay.
Then I had
Okay.
to put my own life back together because I had terrible habits. And so I learned the science of habits and then applied it on myself before teaching it to others.
Okay. And so here you are. Now you're ready to pass it on and help others get back into building good habits for themselves so that their lives can be effective. That's pretty cool. So I'm assuming within, and you can tell me because maybe I should not assume, but within both spaces, such as tutoring, such as being a habit coach, you are all about helping individuals to think about their lives, think critically about their lives so that they can make effective decisions for themselves. And
Hmm.
so this is, a pretty good segue because this is what we are actually discussing today. This month, we are focusing on how to leverage our critical thinking for smart decision making, to help us ultimately improve within our lives. And so, over the past year, and I think I shared this with you, Chris and I, this is not our first time meeting. I did have an opportunity to meet him earlier. So, I did share that this year we're focusing on one book, and then I'm bringing in supplemental tools to help expound on the teachings that are within this book. And the book, of course, is Principles by Ray Dalio. And he talks in this book in chapter 5 about how it's so critical that we learn how to make decisions effectively and doing so in a manner that is systematic, repeatable, and kind of similar to what you've done within your lives in terms of becoming a habit coach. Take what you've learned and be able to teach it to others so that they can be most effective. And so with that, so Ray, he's very structured, right? He likes to provide us
Hmm.
the, how do we make decisions effectively. But I wanted to kind of dive into, well, okay, how, but why do we make the decisions that we make, right? And so in steps a book to provide further support, because I always like to know not only the how, but why do we do the things that we do. And so this month, we're actually focusing, in addition to principles, the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And so Daniel, he goes into talking a little bit about, these different systems that we have, system one and system two, and how these systems interplay with each other to assist us in making decisions. So we're going to digest this a little bit. And one of the first questions that I wanted to kind of pose to you is, if you, in your world, in your space, ever had to make a decision that required you to take a systematic approach to resolving, and if you have, share with us the situation or the issue and walk us through the process that you use to resolve it.
So, in the last couple of years, my wife and I have spent a lot of time thinking about buying a home. We are renters,
Okay.
and we live in a very we're she's a teacher, so we're both educators, but we live in a very wealthy neighborhood where there aren't very many options in our price range. And during this time, interest rates like tripled, and so it, you know, has become highly questionable as to whether it was a good investment or not to shift from renting to buying. And so we've gone back and forth, but at the moment we are paused on looking for a house and we're happy renting. And so that was a difficult decision to come to. It feels like there's a lot of social pressure to buy. It's kind of like the American dream, you know. Um, and initially, I think we did what most people do, which was like crunch the numbers and say, can we afford the payments? And then will the bank give us the loan?
Hmm.
And the answer was yes. And so I think most people get there and they go, okay, the answer is yes. So you buy the house. And I had a bad feeling. I was like, but what if maybe we should think about what could go wrong? Like, we can do it, we can afford it now, but what happens if one of us loses our job? Or
Hmm.
like one of us gets hurt or sick? Or there's like another global economic disruption like COVID? Or like maybe you buy the house and then a pipe breaks and the house needs major repairs and you don't have that in the budget.
Right.
So we were like, can we still afford the house if one of those things happens? And then we were a lot less confident.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, and so it sounds like with that particular, that's very specific, right? Because the house buying process, it usually takes, as you mentioned, taking a look at, step one, make it step one, determining as to whether or not this is something that you want to do,
yeah.
right? So that was kind of like, okay, are we in a good space? Step two is going along the lines of, okay, yes, we've answered yes to that. Step two, do we have the means
Hmm.
in order to do that? So that's really specific to purchasing a home, so to speak. And I'm glad you started there because it helps me to better understand, especially when people are making decisions that um, sometimes a decision making process is not so systematic, right? Because it really depends on what type of decision you have to make, right?
Hmm.
And so you have to, play on the different resources, the different things that are involved in that respective process. So if you you had to, with regards to your home, and if I could just make a commentary, I am so with you on that whole buy a home kick. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you. So back in 2004, I purchased a home.
Mhm.
Okay. I purchased a home and I didn't want to. I didn't want to, but at that time we thought it would be good, to show that we were a stable family. We were trying to commit and,
Mhm.
um, make America our place of residence, etc. And
Mhm.
so my husband's like, my husband at the time was like, let's buy a home, so I can show that. And I kept saying, no. I said, what makes more sense? And I don't know if you've ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that came into play when you were making your decision as well, but he was just talking about how a home is not truly an asset unless it has the capabilities to provide residual income.
Mhm.
And so I just remember talking to my husband like, you know what? We need residual income because probably similar to what you were sharing, what if a major issue arises, right?
Yeah.
So when we're going through those decision-making processes, right? So we've determined, is this something we want to do? Do we have the financial means? Then we get into, okay, hey, let's talk about contingency planning. Okay.
Yeah.
If we purchase this home, what are going to be the ramifications? How is this going to impact us in the event that something happens, you get sick, etc.
Mhm.
So it's very specific, but at the same time, do you feel like you can pull out steps from your decision-making process that can be applied across?
Yeah. Well, really, like the big thing
Mhm,
that we did that I think is missing from a lot of decision making is okay, well, what could go wrong?
mhm,
Like actually think through those scenarios and, and anticipate something going wrong and try to plan around it. This actually comes up a lot in habit coaching where they know what they want to be doing. We create a concrete plan of what they're going to do and when and where and how. And then I go, okay, cool. This plan sounds good. You
mhm,
feel confident about it. Now, it's going to go wrong. Tell me what went wrong. Like literally predict how it's going to fail.
mhm,
Anticipate the obstacles that are going to come up. And then you might plan around them and be like, oh, okay, when that happens, I can overcome it with this strategy.
mhm.
Or, if that happens, that means that I need to do it this way. So thinking ahead to a potential negative outcome actually increases your likelihood of success.
Yes, yes.
Home buying is a really good example of a high cost, difficult to reverse decision. And basically, like, I try to filter out decisions like, okay, is it high cost or low cost? And then second, is it easily reversible? Because if something is low cost and easily reversible, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. Just pick.
Right.
Like, because if you're wrong, like, you're not going to be in a lot of trouble. It's
Mhm,
like, oh, I bought the wrong sweater, return it, or I'm out $20. Not a big deal.
right.
Like, just move forward with your life and don't overthink it. But if it's something that's like expensive and difficult to reverse, then you got to be careful.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that is so important, to think about the different types of decisions that you have to make. I like how you worded that, whether or not it's a high cost or a low cost, because yeah, we don't have to overthink things that are a low cost or that if there was to be a negative outcome, um,
We
it
can just
wasn't something
undo
that,
it or
yeah, we
fix
can
it.
just undo it and fix it. And so we have to be mindful of that. But I guess from if we're looking from a bigger picture, and I'll just give an example, like with my daughter, she's about to go off to school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, when we talk about going off to school, baby girl, you got to be ready for this. We're not about to have you go off to school and for the first couple of years, you patting your feet and tapping the tables and you don't know what you want to do because
Hmm.
it can be quite costly depending on the route that you take.
Yeah.
And so, staying on this example, she can go to a 4-year institution, right?
Hmm.
And so within that decision-making process, I'm saying, okay, is this something that you truly want to do? Okay, yes. Um, let's look at all the factors that need to be considered. Do you have the grades? Do you have the financial means to make this happen, etc.? Okay, yes. And one of the things that, you know, that going back to the contingency plan, step three, once you get in there, if things go south very quickly, what is the game plan to shift
Hmm.
and make the right decisions for yourself? And then I was like, well, if you are not so sure about, whether or not you want to go to a 4-year institution, let's try a 2-year institution. Let's try a
Yeah.
community college, right?
Hmm.
Where the credit hours are not $3,000 a credit hour, but
Yeah.
$99 a credit hour.
Yeah.
And if you want
Hmm.
to experiment,
Totally.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's a better environment for you to experiment in if you are not
Hmm.
sure, right?
Makes
And so
sense.
I think it's really critical. And I think the more that I keep talking to you, there is kind of like a system that that does exist when you are going into the decision making process, making sure that you understand the issue, what is it, and why do we need to make this type of decision? Is this something that we want to do? Looking at all the factors that need to be considered. One of the things that and they talked about it in Think Fast and Slow was um, well, what influenced your decision making? And earlier you were talking with regards to home buying, that it's the American dream, so you
Yeah.
have these societal demands that are forcing you into that space, right? Um,
Right.
and when I was reading the book, they were talking about there are certain things that occur within our lives that, prompt us to even think about making a specific decision, or when we are making that decision, they influence our decision making process. Um, can you
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about your decision making process? Has your process ever failed you? And if so, what course of action did you take to correct or improve your process?
Um, the biggest failure of my decision making would be operating, making what I would end up being a critical life or death choice, operating on system one, which is like a quick twitch, instinctual thinking,
Mm-hmm,
rather than taking the time to actually understand the potential consequences of the situation.
mm-hmm,
So I'll tell you the story. I am a very serious skier, and I spent many years skiing dangerously, recklessly. Um, uh, what I mean is skiing in what we call no fall zones, which is like you're skiing next to a large cliff. So if you were to fall, you are going to fall down that cliff and probably die. And uh, I had experienced the situation so many times that I developed automatic overconfidence. It was like I've done it successfully hundreds of times. I don't fall. It's perfectly safe, is my mindset.
Okay.
And so this is about 5 years ago. I'm
Mhm.
skiing and I stare down this beautiful powder ski line on the edge of a cliff. And I'm like, it's going to be great. It's the only thought I had. It's going to be great. And lurking underneath the fresh snow was a layer of very hard ice. And as I was turning on the edge of the cliff, I cut through the snow and my skis hit the ice and got sucked out from under me. I slammed down and rolled and then fell 30 feet down the cliff and landed on a bent over tree on my belly.
Oh my God.
And there are like a dozen ways that could have ended in me dying. Like the tree could have had a broken branch sticking out. I could have hit my face on the tree. If the tree hadn't been there, I would have hit my face on the snow and probably broken my neck.
Mhm.
And all I had was an injured back and an injured knee and a concussion. And I got to do a lot of thinking after that about, whoa, where
Uh-huh.
I've been skiing is actually genuinely dangerous, and I have no business doing that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's just no good reason to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I established new principles, like, we don't ski there anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you said, because they talk about this overconfidence, you know,
Hmm.
that you developed this sense of overconfidence to where it eroded your ability to make a good decision
Yep.
and weighing all the factors, right?
Hmm.
Oh my God. I could only imagine. Well, thank God that you survived. And so this
Hmm.
was a turning point in your life. Is that correct?
Yeah, at least as a skier.
Okay.
And it really in my mindset because I really should have died. I walked out of it, well, kind of, thinking to myself, like, wow, every day after this day is a bonus day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't deserve these extra days. So every day is a bonus day,
Right.
which has become a mantra to be grateful, to be alive and for whatever's happening today.
Yes. Yes, wow, that is absolutely amazing. Yeah, well, I'm glad that so in that, if we had to take a look with regards to your decision-making process, and even initially getting involved in that space, you just did it for the sake of it was something that fulfilled you internally. So if we had to go
Hmm.
back and take a look at, just the process overall, um, and I'm I'm being or I'm doing this particular activity because it's fulfilling to me, right? So
Yeah,
why
totally.
why are you doing this, right? So this was your why. And then when you looked at all the factors to be considered, really, would you say in that particular instance that was all that you really cared about was the fact that it was fulfilling, which spurred, and then of course that you've done it multiple times and you were very successful, um, that there were no factors to consider because it was something that resonated with you. It was something that fulfilled you. And I don't need to
Yeah.
consider fact, not even my own life was a consideration.
Didn't even occur to me that something could go wrong.
I find that to be so amazing. I don't know. I've never lived on the edge at all. At all. You want to talk about, let me tell you, even when I played sports, I always made varsity and I was always a starter, but they called me Pokey was my nickname since I was a kid
Hmm.
because I was always a slow,
Hmm.
every which way, shape, form, slow thinker, slow everything.
Hmm.
And people, they always make fun of me, oh, she's so dang on slow, but I was strategic with my slowness, right? So
Yeah.
I I I knew when I needed to be fast, right? Which allowed me to be a starter,
Hmm.
but I just was a slow thinker and a slow mover. And so I never did anything that was on the edge. And so I'm always 24/7. Okay, if we're doing this, okay, what are these things that we have to consider? Even with me coming here, Um, I
Mm.
was, the same way, packing our bags. Okay, when we get to the airport, because I'm not spending $300 on food, what are we going to do? So I could have just been like, this is our trip. I don't give a crap how much money we're spending. We are just going to have fun. But no, no, not sister girl here. I mean, I had stuff planned out 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance because I just,
Yeah.
yeah, so I factor in a lot before I get moving on anything, which I find it to be helpful. But you need that balance. Was there anyone in your life that helped to balance you? Was there anyone in your life that said, okay, that warned you that this may happen? Um, and then if so, how did that play in your decision making?
Um, in hindsight, there are plenty of examples of people I knew or people in the skiing community who had suffered big accidents or injuries or died
Mm,
in ski accidents. And you just, it's kind of like, well, that's not going to happen to me, you know,
mm,
just overconfidence.
okay.
Yeah, I kind of, I think I had to learn it myself, um, you know, learn it the
Yeah,
hard way,
learn it the hard way. Okay. So
which
you
is
saw it, but not no one ever, no
no
one
one ever
ever
confronted
balanced
me
you.
and said, geez, you're being really risky. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that never
Okay.
happened. Yeah.
That never happened. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So and I reason why I brought that up is because we're also reading Principles, and in Principles, Ray always talks about when you're going through the process of making a decision, making sure that you find individuals who are reliable and who can validate the decisions that you are making before you do, or begin to move forward. And I think oftentimes,
Hmm.
like you said, yours was more so I was just confident. No one ever confronted me. People saw my skill and they just let me be who I am. So that thought never crossed your mind. But for
Yeah.
others who are kind of out there and they have to make big decisions, one of the things that Ray shared, and even something that I've done in my own life, is I've always um, if I couldn't do it, leaned on someone else who could.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm slow, deliberate, want to think about things, etc. And then I have a friend or someone who moves a little bit faster and says, okay, now let's move. Um, or where it comes into making a decision to buy a home. For me, once again, slow, deliberate, got to check the finances, etc. Crunch, and then someone on the side. So he talks about that and the importance of making sure that we leverage individuals to help us in our decision making process. We don't have to
Yeah.
do this life alone, right?
Oh yeah. You're not
Yeah,
supposed to.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. So thanks so much for sharing that with me. As I shared with you earlier, we had discussed principles that we're focusing on Ray Dalio's book for this month.
Hmm.
And this particular month, we are talking about decision making, which is our main focus, right? It's decision making. Can you talk to me a little bit about certain principles that you lean in on every day to help you in managing your life and your business? And how has relying on those respective principles helped or hindered you?
So one principle I think that you'll like as a sort of naturally cautious person is what I call the principle of two errors. And that means that if you are choosing between two courses of action, either one of if you pick one or the other, you could be wrong with either choice you make. And there's usually that means there's going to be two ways you could be wrong. And usually one of those errors is kind of high likelihood and low consequence. And the other error is a low likelihood and a high consequence. So, me falling off the cliff skiing, that was a low likelihood, high consequence error. Let's use a mundane example. Like, let's say you're deciding what time to leave for the airport. You could play it safe and leave early, or you could leave later with just enough time to make your flight. If you go early, you'll probably be wrong in the sense that, like, you didn't need to be there early. And the price you'll pay is waiting at the terminal for an extra half an hour. It's a very high probability of being wrong, but a very low cost.
Mhm.
On the other hand, if you leave late, and there's a small chance that traffic will be bad and the TSA line will be really long, and then you miss your flight. So it's a very low probability, but a very high cost.
Mhm.
And I think we tend to discount that second situation and go like, well, it's probably not going to happen. So, and then
Mhm.
you go, well, could we afford it if that happened? Would
Eh,
we be okay with being wrong in that way?
No.
And a lot of times the answer is no.
Mhm.
You know,
Okay.
second, my biggest principle in my life is, ironically, given this conversation, to make as few decisions as possible.
Okay.
Now, I don't mean to be indecisive. I
Mhm.
mean, like when Obama was like, I'm eating the same thing for breakfast every day, and I only want two colors of suits because I got too many other important things to decide. You know, right? He's like, I don't
Right.
want to make all these stupid choices, just automate.
Right.
So what I mean is like you should automate your behaviors through good habits so like you don't have to make so many decisions every day.
Mhm.
So like in my life, I meditate every morning no matter what. This is like a deeply ingrained habit for the last 8 years. So like I don't wake up in the morning and go like, should I meditate today or like can I skip today? Like there's no decision to make because I do it every day.
Right.
I plan my days the night before. So like I'm not good at making choices in the morning. I'm tired and I'm just my executive function is weak when I wake up. So I decide in advance what I'm going to do the next day. I wake up, follow my morning routine, then I look at my planner and it just tells me what to do next.
Right.
And a third example is like I never drink. I used to drink a lot, but I'm 100% committed to being completely sober for the rest of my life. So like I never have to make a choice about it. I pre-decided not to drink. And so the thousands of opportunities that I have to drink over the course of my life are all just already decided.
Right. Right. I like that. I like that. I'm with you on that, sir, for sure. I stopped
Mhm.
drinking back in 2003.
Yeah.
2003, 2004. Yeah, I was like, oh no. I found myself in the middle of Second Avenue in New York City, and I was like, oh no, I can't be doing this. I flew over a car. I was like, that was the last time, sir. No way.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I like that because right, a lot of people don't think about how in going into your decision making process, you don't want to make too many decisions. Drinking really stifles your ability to make effective decisions, right?
Well,
So you
yeah.
definitely don't want to do that, right? Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
But I like the one where you minimize your decision making process. I
Yeah.
know a lot of people look at me like for me, I am so simple. I was like, why do we overcomplicate the little things? The
Hmm.
little things, right? So we've got our natural habits. We do we get up in the morning, we wash our face, we brush our teeth, we come, we eat, or I'm like you as well. I don't meditate, but I'm terrible meditator. I tell folks this, I can't meditate worth a dang because my mind is in 100 different places in the morning. Um, don't know why. It's just in 100 different places. I'm like, okay, is May ready? Is Aja? What is Momo doing? Like it's in 100 different. But I do yoga, right? So you
Yeah.
make that
There you go.
commitment to taking care of yourself, and you
Hmm.
have to do that first. And I talk about that. The flight, the airline stewardess when they um, share
Secure
with
your own oxygen mask
yeah,
first.
secure your
Yeah.
own oxygen mask. My father
Hmm.
taught me that. He was like, because you have to take care of yourself first before
Yeah.
you can pour into others, before you can help others. Otherwise, you'll be depleted, and you didn't save somebody else, and you ain't got nothing to show for it.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you've ever been on Facebook. Are you a Facebooker?
Not a
Uh,
lot.
Not a lot. Well, there was this video going around of this homeless man, and he was in Popeye's chicken, ordering chicken, and the homeless man was like, somebody came up to him and said, they wanted to help him, and they asked him, "How did you get into this space?" And he said, "I was always giving the shirt off my back to others, but when it came time for them to give me their shirt off their back, there was no one there. No one
Mm.
would help me." And he said, and so the guy was like, "What did you learn from that experience?" He said, what I learned is that I need to use the bricks to build my own foundation, my own home before I start sharing.
Mm.
And I said, it's not, and people look at that and they're like, "Oh, you're being selfish." I said, "No, that's not being selfish. That's being self-focused so that he can be selfless."
Yeah.
He's focusing on himself so that he can help. And I think we have to change our concept, our mind with regards to that, because it is very important that you do take care of yourself. So I do like
Hmm.
that, that you do that first in the morning,
Yeah.
so you don't have to think about it, right?
Yep.
Very, very good. If you had to leave a message for our next generation, what are some lessons or principles you would leave to ensure that they stayed on the right path to success?
Um, this might sound like a cop out, but it's to consume principles of wisdom every day. So to um, you know, rather than have me tell you the one or two that I think are the most important, you'd forget them anyway.
Right.
I'd rather have you develop a habit of engaging with wisdom every day
Mhm.
because you hear good ideas and then you forget them, or you
Mhm.
try to embody wise principles in your daily life, but then in the heat of the moment, you make bad choices.
Mhm.
So the best way to counteract this is to just regularly feed your brain good ideas. And this is part of my morning routine to consume a small dose of wisdom. And what I find is that I'm just much more likely to remember them and then use them throughout my day.
Mhm.
And it kind of counteracts like system one negative thinking.
Mhm.
And you can create that, oh, but wait, there's a better way to think about this. You know. So I did that for years through Brian Johnson's Optimize, which is now called Heroic.
Okay.
It's a very popular self-development app called
Okay.
Heroic.
Heroic.
Um, yeah, you can listen to podcasts, you can watch YouTube videos. One of my favorites is reading Ryan Holiday's work. He has a book called The Daily Stoic, which
Hmm.
is just a small passage a day of stoicism.
Yes. I'm connected on Facebook with him.
Yeah.
Mhm. Very good. I like that you said that, and that's very key with regards to principles, because not all of principles are going to apply to you at a given moment in time, right?
Yeah.
Some of them may make sense to you, but maybe you're not in a space to where that respective principle is designed for you or makes sense for
Mhm.
you at that moment in time. And you really have to think about every single day, what, like you stated, taking in information and determining, does this make sense for me to apply, to digest and apply within my life, because
Mhm.
we all come from different walks of life. We all have different, faculties. We all have different desires. When I say faculties, I mean capabilities. Different
Yeah.
desires. Um, you know, and so it's very important that when we think about principles, we think about how and what principles we want and how we want those principles to be designed within our lives at a respective point in time. So yeah, I really appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Um, no, other than like if you're, struggling with behavioral change, we should talk.
Okay.
Like odds are you've been trying to do it with brute force willpower, and I would love to show you a better way. Um,
Okay. Okay. And your business, how can our audience find you?
Go to becomingbetter.org, and there you can learn more, and you can shoot me an email and schedule a free consultation.
Okay, fantastic. Well, there you have it, folks. Chris Loper here joining us. Chris, I'd like to thank you so much. I truly appreciate your expertise, your knowledge, and sharing it here with our audience today on Kinky Knots Cafe's Proactive is the Way.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, that's a wrap. Up next, the Tangential Mind. This month was National Nutrition Month. Variety is the spice of life, and as such, it is so important that in order to keep healthy eating exciting, we should explore different foods from all food groups in a variety of forms. As many of you know, I am here in Dakar, Senegal, and I have been playing around in the kitchen, attempting to make a few of the signature dishes that you would find in Senegal, such as yassa and mafi. Next month, I will be showing you a few of the traditional dishes that were made while in Senegal and a couple that I veganized. I just love experimenting with various cuisines from around the globe to keep my palate cultured and things exciting. To learn more about various cuisines that you can try around the globe, please visit eatright.org. Okay, are you ready to learn who the winner is for this quarter's giveaway? All right, the winner is Dina Akbar. Congratulations, Dina. You are the winner of $100 and your choice of the 3 books we featured this quarter or an item from the KK Cafe collection. Please remember, if you live outside of the U.S., you must select an item from the KK Cafe collection. I will DM you with the next steps. You will have 30 days to collect your prize. Join us in 2 weeks as we kick off a new series, Fail Forward, Embracing Setbacks on the Road to Success. How do you manage when you find that you have made a mistake? Do you find that you shield yourself from taking risks because of the fear of making a mistake or failing? In Principles, Ray challenges us to create a culture in which it is okay to make mistakes and to provide one an opportunity to learn from them. Ray believes that everyone makes mistakes, but how you overcome them is the key to finding success. He shares that the main difference between those who find success and those who do not is whether or not you can learn from them and take the appropriate course of corrective action. So, how does this play into risk-taking? You will find that many people try to shield themselves from making mistakes by never taking a risk. In this dot of a life that we have, can we really afford to not take risks? Well, I don't know about you, but I definitely want to improve in this area. And I know that the first step will be to get my mind right with regards to how I view making mistakes and failure. Next month, we will be reviewing Failing Up, How to Take Risks, Aim Higher, and Never Stop Learning by Leslie Odom Jr. Leslie Odom Jr. book We will explore the concept of failure and how it can be a stepping stone to success. Odom shares personal anecdotes and lessons learned from his own experiences in the entertainment industry, offering valuable insights and advice for overcoming setbacks and achieving goals. In this book, we will learn about self-discovery, the art of embracing failure, and resilience. We look forward to you joining us. And in preparation for our discussions, please visit Kinky Knots Cafe's approved book list to pick up a copy of the book. Details are enclosed in the description. To access all replays and learn more about Kinky Knots Cafe's Proactive is the Way, please visit www.kinkyknotscafe.com. Proactive is the way, my friends. Take good care.